Hi, I'm Peder Lindell, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I'm happy to be joined by Peder Lindell. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so excited to dive into Descendants, The Rise of Red. Very, very, very exciting project and movie for you. But I wanted to start off with your background. What can you share about your background in the arts and what sparked that passion in you?
Totally. I had a great childhood. At least I like to think so. I grew up in Minnesota in a small town, Northfield, Minnesota. It was about 20,000 people, two colleges, and a bunch of farm fields surrounding us. But it was actually a very artistic town. The colleges sparked tons of artistic influence within the community, within the schools there. So I was instantly immersed in an artistic environment, and that was a fantastic experience, especially getting the opportunities to work with, world-renowned choir directors. I grew up doing a lot of choir and singing, and that's actually how I got into opera and musical theater later on. But I guess there were just a bunch of wonderful people that I met while working in the industry that sparked inspiration and influence. My first professional show I did was on Golden Pond at the Jungle Theater, and that was with Bane Belke and Wendy Lair, and they were huge influences and inspirations for me. I mean, also just tons of great people, great environment, and I stuck around.
It's so nice to kind of grow up in a rich community where you can kind of immerse yourself, like you mentioned. And we'll talk a bit about that theater stage background. Like, tell me about how you found a home on the stage and within that theater and opera community, because it takes one thing to have that as a hobby, but you were quite involved in it, like multiple years, throughout that childhood and youth
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, totally. It became my life in some ways. Multiple years. I was actually a lot of my childhood. I would be doing 7 to 8 shows a week during the fall or spring. So I was constantly working with schools to, leave school for 2, 3 days, like when we had to do shows for students. So it was constantly a collaboration between between my two lives. But it was instantly a home. I mean, you're really never going to find kinder, more caring people in many other industries. The theater industry is so inclusive, so wonderful. I mean, to put yourself on stage in front of two people or 2,000 people takes takes effort. It takes I'm trying to find the right word. You have to be willing to open up, and you have to be willing to show everyone all sorts of emotions. And to do that takes a lot of confidence and a lot of willingness to learn more about yourself and other people. And because of that, I fell in love.
Yeah, it takes a certain amount of also, I guess, what you're getting at is like vulnerability, right? The fact
Yeah,
that, it's
exactly.
always like being okay that you might not always have your best day on stage either, and that's okay, and you can
Totally,
move
totally.
forward from that. I was watching a video of you performing Raise a Little Hell from Bonnie and Clyde the musical.
Oh,
So not
cool.
when you were a child, a bit more
Yep.
recent, but it was just fantastic. So I had to add that in there. How
Thank you.
supportive, no, no, of course, how supportive has your family been for you in this journey? Because it started when you were very young, as you mentioned.
it I have no words for this. It would have been impossible for me to be where I am right now without them. It's absolutely impossible. Every show that I did, like I said, I would be doing 8 shows a week. I couldn't drive, and I lived about an hour outside the cities. My mom and dad would drive me there and back every day, and they had to work as well. So really, when I look back on this, the amount of sacrifice that they put into my career and to uh, fan the flames of my passions was enormous, and I'm forever grateful for that. I mean, and my sister as well, my grandmas, they're so supportive, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Last year, you starred as Gus in Ryan Norton's LGBT Q plus skate short film scraps. That's like a bit of
Yeah,
a
it's a
thing to say.
mouthful.
Yeah, it is. But I was seeing, some of the teasers and all the behind the scenes pictures that they were posting. What can you tell me about this project and its importance to you?
Oh, well, it's a fantastic project. I'm so happy that I was brought onto it. That happened about a year ago. Last summer, we shot the short, and the feature is upcoming, which I'm so excited for. Um, it's a story. It's a young love story. It's a coming of age story set in Montana. Entire thing shot on film, which is very unique because we don't see that a lot these days. So it's very much indie-esque. You could compare it to maybe A24 films, similar sort of vibe. It's like if Call Me by Your Name got crossed with, oh, what's the other film? Mid 90s. That's sort of what this film is like. And it was a fantastic experience. I mean, we were shooting in Livingston, Montana, so just north of Yellowstone, and the scenery is beautiful. We were skateboarding. Unfortunately, I grew up skateboarding, but unfortunately, my character in the movie is a bad skateboarder, so it was actually harder because I had to learn how to be learning again, which was fun. Um, Incredible cast, working with Dorian and Sophia. Wonderful, wonderful people. I'm actually Dances with Films, the film festival in LA right now, is premiering it. So I was at a event last night and there's a red carpet next week. So it's great.
Very exciting time for you for multiple reasons. And you
Yeah.
mentioned Montana, the backdrop. It's kind of like the early 2000s is when the film takes place as well. It just looked like such a labor of love. So it's so exciting that they're working on the full length and casting. I'm assuming with your schedule, you won't be able to be a part of the feature
Well,
full length.
you never know what happens. Schedules change, things
Keeping
happen.
your options
Yeah.
open for that. I
You
know
gotta.
it just looked like such a good story. So I mean, hopefully you get to reunite with them in some capacity, even just at the premiere coming up. But you currently attend university at Loyola Marymount. What can you share about your studies and how you've been growing your craft at school?
Mm. Well, moving out to LA was my goal initially from high school. I didn't know what school I wanted to go to, but I knew I wanted to be in LA because I wanted to pursue acting. And that was the importance for me. But I ended up at LMU for a couple of reasons. They have one of the best film programs in the nation, as well as one of the best theater programs in the nation. And combining the two of that was fantastic because I'm working with like the future Spielbergs, as my roommates, and we're collaborating, writing scripts, creating short films, and it's been a fantastic experience. There's a number of great professors there, a number of incredible friends, lifelong friends that I've made, um, that I'm forever grateful for. I think LMU has been a great place for me to begin my journey in LA.
Outside of the arts, you are also a commercial pilot and you're quite athletic. So tell me about these aspects and how it's brought more fulfillment to your life.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I think that in acting, something that I've found very beneficial to me is exploring lots of different worlds within life. And that sounds a little vague, but let me explain. I think when you get a character, you are instantly looking for ways that you relate to that character. How can you bring the things in your life that you know into that character? And because I've done a lot of different things, I mean, I grew up playing hockey, soccer, wrestling, baseball, ultimate frisbee, diving, and then commercial piloting, and I'm also scuba diving. I love doing that because it fulfills me because I love it, but it also has benefited me as an actor because I have all these life experiences that I'm drawing from, bringing into these characters, and I think it's the perfect combination of the two. It's been great. I mean, flying is fantastic as well. That's definitely become a second passion of mine, um, equal to acting.
When you're flying, how do you feel when you're in the air? Like, can you put that into words? Do you
Oh
have
my
a
gosh.
favorite solo flight that you've piloted?
Chloe, you don't even know. It's the most. I'm smiling right now because I'm imagining it. It's the most incredible feeling. My first time ever flying a plane, I was nervous, of course, but as soon as I started flying it, it was electric and it was beautiful. I was sometimes like when I'm flying a plane, I'll sit and I'll just look out and I'll be like, what the heck am I doing? How is this plane flying? It's the most incredible experience. And very, very fun world. The communication, the way you talk with air traffic control, the way you're working with airlines and the smaller guys. It's a lot of fun. I think maybe my favorite flight, I don't know. I think I did I have a couple good ones. There's an airport on an island in, I believe, Wisconsin, or it might be Michigan. It gets kind of fuzzy up towards Lake Superior, what state it's actually in. But I fly there. It's called Madeline Island. I fly there a lot, and it's just a small airstrip on an island, and it's about maybe an hour-long flight. I like to do it a lot in the summers, and there's some cliff jumping on the north side of the island, which is tons of fun. It's a fun little summer adventure.
Yeah, and you can take yourself there as well. So it's like no harm, no foul. And I know your
Uh,
sister's also a pilot or pilot in training as well. Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
correct?
she is. Yeah, and the whole family. I mean, except my mom, but she's happy. She's like, we have three good pilots. My dad is a pilot for United, so that was the initial inspiration.
Your mom can be the forever like the passenger princess. So
Yeah,
all of you to
exactly,
take her anywhere that she wants to go.
exactly.
In terms of, I mean, solo flying, night skies, clear skies, just must be a sight for sore eyes. I can only imagine what it's like from up
Yeah,
there.
totally. I mean, I actually have a lot of fun when there's not clear skies in a way. There's a type of flying called instrument flying where you fly solely in respect to the instruments. So you could, in theory, not look outside of the plane throughout the whole flight. And that's the type of training and certificate that you have for that. And that's really fun because when you're in the clouds, everything is white around you. In theory, you wouldn't know if you're going up or down or like straight into the earth if you lost your instruments. So I think in that respect, I love the adventure and the thrill, but clear skies, clear night skies are really fun too. I flew a night flight 2 days ago. It's wonderful over Minneapolis, and you just can't beat it. I'm very happy.
Well, I hope that your journey as a pilot continues. I'm sorry to pull you away from that topic because I could see how passionate you are, but we'll talk about another project that I'm sure will be very
Yeah.
fun, which is Descendants, The Rise of Red. To all those watching and listening, we are discussing spoilers here, so please make sure you finished the movie before continuing on. I mean, what were your first thoughts seeing yourself on the official poster? Were you told ahead of time that you may be on it?
I got to see multiple versions of the poster back when we were shooting the movie. And there were some versions where I was on it and some where I wasn't. And there's always the uncertainty what the producers and Disney decides to do. But it was a fantastic feeling. I mean, this whole process has been a fantastic feeling, and I'm just so grateful to be here. Whether I'm on the poster or not, it doesn't matter. But that was incredible. And I'm starting to see it pop up around town. I supposedly there's a couple at bus stops in the Valley in LA and elsewhere. So
Have people been sending you pictures
yeah,
and things like that? Yeah.
yeah, they have, and it's been the weirdest thing. Supposedly some should be going up in Times Square soon, so excited to see that.
I'm sure when there's some more press and things like that leading up to the premiere, it's going to be an exciting time. I
Totally.
mean, what can you share about your audition process? I'm curious about that. What drew you to this project and to your character as well?
Well, I'll admit I actually didn't know I was auditioning for a Descendants film initially. It was called Pocket Watch. I'm like, okay, so we're doing a feature film. It's called Pocket Watch. I have no idea what it's about, but there's this character Morgie, and he's fun. Morgie is fun, and as you got to see the film, he's goofy, he's lovable, he's evil, and a little ignorant at points. But it was a great process. I auditioned initially, and I think I heard back the next day or so that they were interested in me. And within the next couple weeks, I had done a callback, and then I was on the team, and that that was an incredible thing to hear.
When you were auditioning during that process, because you mentioned having to do a callback, like, did you have a good feeling about it? Were you unsure? It's interesting because sometimes people say, oh, I thought I did a really poor job, and then they get the part. Sometimes they think, oh, I come out of it feeling really good, and then no luck. So, how was it for you?
Totally. Well, I think I'll tell you this. When I look back at my tapes, I I sometimes cringe because knowing where I am now, I'm like, oh, I could have done this like completely different or something else. And I think maybe that's a feeling I always have on all tapes. But I think my callback audition was monumentally better than my original audition because I got the chance to kind of go back and rework a bunch of stuff, knowing that they had more interest. But I think as soon as I read the character of Morgie, him and I clicked. There was something about it, the the Disney-esque, the Descendants, the musical-esque, the goofiness, the sort of gremlin-ish way that he talks. I, I saw the character in my mind initially, and I brought him to life. It was just so natural, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say on that. It was great.
What was your familiarity and relationship with the Descendants franchise? Like once you found out what it was, like from that original trilogy, who was your favorite character? What made the films stand out and what made them special?
Yeah, totally. I think I I watched the initial film I'm trying to remember. I watched the initial film in my parents' bedroom with my sister, and it was on Disney Channel. And I totally remember watching all three of the films. Um, because it was like, you're watching Disney Channel, it's like, oh, Descendants is up and like some musical. And you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm a theater nerd. Like this is right up my alley. And I totally remember watching it and being like, oh man, like I could totally do that. How could I ever get in contact and do something like that? And that idea sort of drifted off in my mind. But when I realized that I was auditioning for Descendants, I was like, this this is it. Like this is totally something I can do. Morgie is me, and we're gonna make this happen. And it did. And wow, I'm just so grateful. Oh,
So
and
on
my favorite character, I forgot to answer. That is a hard one. There are so many incredible characters. I think the core four, of course, were the ideals of my mind, the my favorites. I think Carlos, especially, and Boo Boo Stewart, his stunts I thought were really cool as a kid. Like, oh, that he's flipping. Like, I love to do backflips. That's I felt like I connected with that. I think the original cast did a fantastic job, and I'm happy to come in on the fourth film and continue the work that they created.
So on that note, you did, I believe it was Morgan who posted a video or TikTok or something. You did keep stickers of those four characters, Mal, Evie, Carlos, and Jay, on the back of your phone. So tell me about this action and how was it to keep these OG characters close to you while filming?
Yeah, I think it's super important, especially when you're dealing with a franchise as big as this. There are millions of fans, including myself, that grew up on this. And I think it's very important to honor the fact that you're coming into a world that you haven't belonged in, but you're finding a place in it. And throughout the entire process, I have done my best to keep the original feelings and spirit and the magic that I felt when I was watching the screen. I want the kids to see that as well. So I was at like a dollar store and we saw those stickers and I was like, what? Like we need to get these. These are awesome. And I threw it on my phone and while we were shooting, I kept them there. It was fun. It was cool.
It's so nice to kind of feel inspired by their legacy. And like you mentioned, kind of like the passing the torch thing and trying to carve your own path as well. So Morgie is the son of Morgana le Fay, who is from the Legend of King Arthur. How familiar were you with this lore? Because it's kind of, unknown to a lot of people. So what research and preparation, additional research and preparation did you do on top of your own knowledge to kind of help you just understand a bit more?
Totally. I did a lot of research. I mean, I didn't know who Morgana le Fay was initially, so I was searching up Arthurian legends and reading, I was doing some deep searches. If you're a fan, a deep fan, and you were typing stuff up on random websites, there's a good chance I read it, and thank you for the inspiration. Um, so I did a lot of research. Morgana le Fay is a really cool mom to have. She's evil, I'm evil, and that was fun. I guess I knew, the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur, Sword in the Stone, obviously I was familiar with. So there were a lot of elements that I had previously already known, but there were a lot of elements that I got to create and a lot of elements that I got to bring in from other stories, and that was fun.
Definitely a lot of like the witchcraft, magic. What details can you share about what you created yourself or discussed with others as to that kind of backstory and upbringing that
Sure.
helped you shape him? Because, we only see a portion of his life and that kind of old past, present day, but there's a lot more behind that.
Totally. Um, the stuff that I brought to the table was a lot of the character portrayal and the way that he moves and the voice. He kind of talks like oh, I haven't done it in a while, but it's more like this, like hey, I'm Morgie. And that was super fun playing with that and discovering what that meant to me. Um, I think that the witchcraft, the powers, and the serpentine, the snake eyes that you guys saw in the movie, spoiler, um, came from Disney. But we talked about who Morgie was a bunch, and which was super helpful to me and hopefully to the other cast members. And I hope you guys enjoy him on screen.
Are there any tidbits you can kind of share without giving like all of your secrets away? Maybe like a tidbit from his past, maybe with his mom that maybe informed who he was?
Um, I don't think I should.
We're gonna keep that a secret just in case it gets revealed. I don't know, maybe in the future. But it's always nice to have it kind of close to yourself as well because it kind of it just informs you. And so what we see
Totally.
on screen, like I do love the tidbits. You mentioned his voice. Like how about the physicality and movement side of him? How did you work on that?
You know, I don't know what it was when I first did the audition. I I was reading the script. I'm like, oh, Morgie sits a little bit lower like this. There's a little bit of a hunch in the back. There's an enamorant with Uliana, and is it enamorant? I don't even know if that's a word. Enamoring. I was enamored with Uliana and the other VKs. Um, he's gremlin-esque, and I felt like he should sort of move in that way. I think also because of that, he's a serpentine, so he can move, he can flip, he can do stunts, and that felt very magical. It felt very witchcrafty, and I felt like that was the right choice and decision to go with for Morgie. And I think it played out well on screen, especially with the dance stuff. I mean, oh my gosh, so much fun.
Definitely. And we'll talk a bit about those numbers in a bit. But tell me about that alliance with Uliana. Like, did you ever consider how they met off screen, like how old they might have been, and how he ended up in that friendship?
The way that I've always imagined it was that Uliana is the head sort of VK. She's the like for lack of a better word, she's the bad, you know, I shouldn't swear, but she's that at school. And uh Morgie fell in line because he wanted to be with his VKs, maybe there was some sort of, with our parents, some connection. I don't know. But the crew is there. The the Maleficent, Hades, Morgie, Hook, Uliana, and the crew is tight.
Is there a romantic interest at all with Uliana, or do you think it's purely platonic for Morgie?
I think that part of me doesn't want to pull a Tom Holland and reveal any secrets,
There's a
but
scene, there's a moment where it almost does look like it was like in the tree where he does look pretty smitten before they
sure,
go into Merlin's office.
totally. I think what I was playing with the stuff that they gave me in the script was that he was enamored by how wicked she was. And whether that will be a romantic interest in the future, we don't know. Whether it's purely platonic, we don't know. But we'll see.
I think that's a fair interpretation in terms of like the power because you can hold people on a pedestal because they maybe have something that you don't in your own life and that aura.
Yeah.
How about his, you mentioned that you think the VKs are quite tight. So do you think that, off screen they do actually open up to each other and talk about their pasts and upbringing? Because obviously on the surface it's like, oh, it could be out of convenience, you group these kids together, but you think there could be something deeper to their friendship?
I think that in my experience, whenever people are wicked in life or evil or mean or bullies, there's typically a deep backstory. There's typically lots of reasons and other factors behind those characters. So I think that because the VKs are so close, that we definitely would have opened up to each other off screen because I'm sure there's a lot of shared trauma or shared experiences with parents who are evil. And I think, naturally as humans, we want to talk about, our life with each other. And I think, I think totally. I mean, we're the crew, the VKs.
So even though they are evil, they do, have hearts and they do have feelings and need to talk about that stuff. Your first scene in the movie, of course, was the VK's entrance during Life is Sweeter. What do you remember from filming that number and how you wanted to make Morgie's introduction memorable?
Yeah, absolutely electric. Life is Sweeter was the big number, besides Perfect Revenge, that everyone was there. There were so many moving parts. There were people flipping in the air, and then our choreographer Ashley's running around like, do this, do that, and like we're dancing, and then it's good versus bad, and now we're moving in a circle, and we're doing like these crazy things with our arms, like what's going on? It was so much fun, and especially I was just talking to um about this in an interview the other day, and I was saying how being in this Disney world, once the cameras are on and once we're going, it is so real. I am totally in that world. There's no way we're at a soundstage, and it's really fun to be there. My first entrance, though, I wanted to obviously, like, show the fans who Morgie was, give them the sort of like bang entrance, and when the skies start turning dark and those VKs start rolling in, I mean, I'm still getting shivers like watching the movie. It's like, whoa, that's cool. And then I did the butterfly flip coming in with the sort of like this, and then I think that's where they gave me the snake eyes. I think I'm very happy with the entrance. And hopefully you guys are too, because it was fun. A lot of takes though.
I can only imagine. I do think it came out really well. It did hit with a bang and pop with all those characters coming in. And of course, you had to perfect that manic laughter as well.
Yeah, totally. There were a lot of, nights in the room where I was laughing maniacally or as saw in the tree scene barking. That,
You're kind of like, how do I play this off as not being completely cheesy, but at the same time, like there is
yeah,
that cheesy element to the character. Um,
totally.
After Uliana eats the flamingo feathers, Morgie, I think he looks on a little fascinated, but he is the only one who tries to intervene, help
Yeah.
her out. Of course, she later ends up angry, humiliated in the water. For Morgie, what do you think he's feeling watching this all unfold?
Yeah, I think there's two things going on. I think one, it's the being enamored with her evil and like whoa, like, and maybe not even with her, with like the fact that she's turning into a flamingo, like maybe a little bit of the ADHD distraction where, oh, and now like we're looking at that and she's turning into a flamingo, like this kind of cool and wicked, like I want to do this, like I want to be the flamingo. And I think there was also, I like to think that Morgie has a heart inside of him, like you were saying earlier. So I was looking out for her and be like, okay, like I'm gonna help you. Like let's get out of here. And then she runs off, and I'm chasing after her, yelling, "Ooh!"
What's funny is when he attempted to help her, I think he essentially just pulled her outer jacket off. Like he didn't actually end up helping her off. I thought that that struggle
Yeah.
was so real there, but the intentions were there. Take me through the Black Lagoon set and the Perfect Revenge number. How was that choreography to learn and perform?
It was difficult for sure. I grew up dancing, so I have had a bunch of dance experience, but I wouldn't call myself a professional dancer. Yeah, I'm not training 24/7. So coming in to the room with Ashley Wallen was incredible, but it was difficult. You know, he made us work, and that was fantastic. I mean, everyone saw his work on Greatest Showman, and those in the choreography world have seen him around. He's proper good. So working on Perfect Revenge was tons of fun. There were a bunch of new dance moves that I hadn't played with before, but we got to work with professional dancers as well. You know, they were constantly helping us out, and Ashley as well. So we did about 2 weeks of boot camp before we started filming, and I like to call that like Disney camp because we just got together every morning and we were dancing and sort of sitting into the characters and how they related with each other. But the Black Lagoon, the set designers went like they popped off on that set. I truly wish you could have been there on set to see the detail that they put into it. It was incredible. It was so incredible to walk into the lagoon and see on the wall. There was not a same patch the same as another. Everything was unique and so intricate. It was so much fun to be like, oh, this is my lair. Like this is where I hang out.
It must be so cool getting to explore and, like you mentioned, just seeing all those intricate details that unfortunately the viewer is not privy to. But that's why I love hearing about these in interviews because it's always something new, new day on set for you. We do leave Merlin Academy after Red and Chloe foil the VK's plan for their prank on Bridget. I did think it was a little abrupt, so I'm curious, like, what do you imagine happened to Morgie in his adult life? After school, did you ever consider what kind of life he had? And keep in mind to those, if this goes on in the future, of course, his future is up to the writers and where they want to go. But inside your head, did you ever think about that?
I think a lot of the character work that I did was prior history and current history, but there was some, thought that I put into that. Who did Morgie become? I think in a lot of ways it was drawing myself into the character. So the more that I became Morgie, Morgie became me. So maybe in the future he's a little similar to me. I don't think he goes and becomes an actor, but I don't know. I think that the question is whether Morgie continues to lead an evil life or lead a good life is maybe more so the question that I dealt with, and I think that that's going to be left up in for interpretation to the writers, but a bit of both if I had to throw my hat in.
And
It's gonna be
everybody,
wicked when it's
ev-
fun, but
everybody loves a good redemption arc, as we see
exactly.
in those original trilogies. We do meet the adult version of Hades and Maleficent, of course, being Mal's parents. Do you have thoughts on who you might like to see as an adult Morgie?
Oh, no way. Uh, yeah, I do have thoughts about that. I think it'd be cool to see. I think there's, a bunch of contenders. Maybe like Zac Efron or Andrew Garfield. Those are sort of lookalikes, maybe because they just have brown hair. But that would be fun. Or maybe like Taron Egerton or Tom Holland. A lot of good options there.
No shortage, of course, and I'm sure any of those actors you'd be just so thrilled to ever work with in the future. Tell me about Morgie's style and working with hair, makeup, and wardrobe to find his signature look. Like, how would you describe it, and did you get any creative input?
I did get a bit of input. They had an idea for what they wanted for the costume, and it was this teen boy with the green flowy top that he has on with sort of the magical embroiderment on it with the cool jeans and the scarf as well. So I didn't get to choose exactly what I was wearing, but oh my, I would have chosen exactly that because that was it was so cool and felt so cool to wear as well. I felt like I was already doing witchcraft just having the costume on. But with my hair, I got to choose what I was gonna do. I got to work with the hair department, and they were like, "What do we want to do here?" I thought the flowiness was fun, very different to how I typically have my hair, which is the calculated mess, the floof, um, the muskrat on the head. There's lots of good names, but I think that maybe complemented the serpentine, the aspect of Morgie, and the little curl as well. I think maybe added to the magic. So it was fun.
Did you get to take that signature black scarf home? Any of the rings you got to wear?
I didn't get to take much of the costume home for for whatever reason, but they're holding on to that, and whether we get to revisit it in the future, never know.
You might be sitting in a warehouse somewhere and you're just like, oh, come on,
It
I need
is.
to like reprise and
It
return to
totally
this outfit. What can you say about Kylie and Malia's performances as Red and Chloe, especially after watching the movie in full and some of those maybe more emotional scenes that you weren't privy to seeing on set?
sure. Kylie and Malia are both fantastic actors. They they're you're right. I didn't get to see a lot of their scenes, and getting to watch it for the first time a few months ago was fantastic. It was super cool to see the work that they put in and seeing how they interacted with each other beyond when they were doing scenes with the VKs. Uh, I I think it was just fun to watch that, and they did a great job.
I know the cast has built such a close bond and friendship. So take me behind the scenes. What was it like working with this ensemble? What are some of your favorite memories from set?
Yeah, I would go further to call it a family. We truly created bonds that will last a lifetime. I already gave it the term Disney camp. It was that. It was like we were at camp, you know, being our characters, playing in this Disney world was so much fun. And we had so many fun experiences. We were, constantly doing cast bonding where some of us were at the same hotel, so there would be movie nights, and we actually, fun story, on I think it was Valentine's Day. We did a Palentine's Day where we got together. I think it was Malia's place, and we made like breakfast. Well, I shouldn't say I made breakfast. I made the bacon and like the pancakes and everything, and we had this fantastic brunch, which was really a special memory. But there were so many of those. It's impossible to count, and they're still going on. I'm seeing some of the cast tomorrow to hang out. We're doing press all this week, so it's much more to come.
I know you unfortunately weren't able to get into some TikToks before. You said that with the girl cast, you and Joshua were kind of left out. So hopefully there's some more time to film some of those. Tell me about the fan support that you've seen and received so far, leading up to the premiere, ever since you were announced joining the cast. What has that meant to you?
Sure, it's meant the world. I think as soon as my name was released to the public, there were DMs and there were people following me, and I felt an overwhelming amount of love, and I just I've been so grateful to have been welcomed into this world. And, like I said earlier, I want to do it justice. And now that a lot of more people know that I'm on the project, there's been so, fun moments with fans. That I got added to a group chat of fans actually, and I don't interact on it, but I'll see, them texting every day, and it's fun. It reminds me constantly that this is an incredible environment, a deep-rooted fandom, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
I just wanted to touch on your trip to Ethiopia earlier this year with the nonprofit organization Fields of Promise. Tell me about this trip and how it changed and inspired you.
Yeah, absolutely life-changing. I had never gotten the chance to uh, go to Africa or to go to Ethiopia, and that, of course, was incredible. But I was brought onto this nonprofit through a really good close friend of mine. Her family started Fields of Promise, and they work with a nonprofit in Ethiopia called Operation Rescue, which is based in three locations. And the two that we were working at were in Mekelle, which was about a 2-hour flight north of Addis Ababa, And then we took about a 3 hour drive up towards the Eritrea border to a city called Adigrat, where we did most of the work. And it's basically, how do I describe it? Operation Rescue in Fields of Promise creates an environment where kids are able to get off the streets during the day and are able to get, a meal, able to hang out with other people, learn and and interact in a safe, positive environment. And I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting myself into priorly, but when I was there, it was it was just so incredible to hang with these kids and to get to know them and to bring some of my world into their world. There was actually a kid, his name is Awet, and he found out that I was a pilot when I got there, and he ran up to me and gave me a big hug on my leg, and he's like, "I want to be a pilot as well." And I was like, "What?" And for the rest of the time, he was like my little buddy throughout the trip. But as positive as I am talking about it, there's a lot of hardship there. They just got out of a civil war, and it's not as happy as it may seem. This it wasn't some vacation. There was a lot of really sad stuff that I was interacting with, and hard stories, but I just wanted to help as I could and to maybe provide a bit of a light where there might be a lot of darkness. And I'll be going back for the rest of my life. I love those kids so much.
Well, I hope you get to return shortly, but I know they're doing great work. It's fieldsofpromise.org for more information on how you can help and support with what they're doing, special medical needs education. I have a signature question for you. If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking like mint chocolate chip. Yeah, or cookies and cream. Nah, mint chocolate chip. Mint chocolate chip because it's really good.
Awesome. I like that answer. Thank you so much, Peter, for taking the time to chat. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Chloe. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, hopefully we get to catch up in the future. But for all those watching, make sure to catch Peter in Descendants, The Rise of Reg, streaming on Disney Plus July 12th and premiering on Disney Channel August 9th. And we will see you next time.
See ya.